Tanea, how's it going? Welcome to the platform.
Thank you for inviting me. Glad to be here.
Now, I had to get you on here because I think what you represent, what you do, who you do it for, is needed, especially in a time like this. And it's always great to have a woman's perspective, a black woman perspective, because I can't speak to that perspective because I'm clearly a man.
I'm glad you know.
And so we want to get into all of it. So you're not from here.
No.
You're not from here. So tell us a little bit about where you're from, who you are, and how you got into, firearms.
Okay. Well, I am an East Sider from good old Tacoma, Washington. The West Coast shouted. So if we out that way, people from Seattle would tell you to stay away from the evil East Side. So Tacoma back in the 80s and early 90s when I was there was when gang banging was at its high. You know what I mean? When gang banging was in, Boys in the Hood was out, Menace to Society. We talking about pre-Boys in the Hood days when it was just getting started. So I lived in an area where it was high. So at a very young age, we were taught how to stay aware of our surroundings, mind your business, while you out here in these streets.
Right.
But we also dealt with, at the same time, you got gang banging going on, and so that hit the black culture hard in black communities. But at the same time, again, I'm in Washington State, so we have serial killers going on, Ted Bundy, the Green River Killer.
Right.
We just have all these extra things going on that says, yo, you need to be on your P's and Q's when you out here walking. Because I was a walker. I walked to school, elementary school, middle school. And there were certain codes and things you had to live by. There were certain things you did and did not do. But you learned to still enjoy life.
Right.
In the midst of it, but situational awareness was from off top.
Yeah, especially being on the West Coast, which is drastically different when it comes to like gangs and stuff like that compared to the South, right? Which we got all that stuff. That's all learned from West Coast movies, music, all that stuff.
Exactly.
And so you have a real lens
experience, right every day,
because it is a culture, right? It's like
it's
a lifestyle, I'll even say, right?
It is.
Those people that are active and participate in that lifestyle live by it. It's not just like a fad, it's not a trend, it's not like it's a lifestyle.
It's a commitment,
right?
And the thing was, in that day, so I'm not talking about I was young and I'm watching old heads gang bang. I'm talking about I'm in elementary school and I'm watching my classmates and my friends and my neighbors get put on. You know what I mean? A lot of that would come from cousins from California coming to stay the summer.
Right.
And then they putting folks on. So you have children claiming neighborhoods that are in whole other states.
Right.
You know what I mean? But now it's in full effect, and eventually it evolved into them claiming their own neighborhoods. But that was so we were seeing this, like you said, from the grassroots level of gang banging, watching your neighborhood become a set.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that's different community building than what some of us are used to.
And from us outsiders, that when I say outsiders, not from the West Coast, right? Because I think that that's a different type of gang banging. Just because
y'all thugging down here. Like when I came down here, I felt like they would talk about gang stuff, but I'd be like, that's not. They would say Bloods, Crip. I'm a Crip, and I'd be like, but what set are you claiming?
Right.
And they didn't have a set, but the South helped me understand thugging.
Right.
What thugging was.
Being a woman, how did that lens, like, because we always see it's the man that's gang banging, right? But we know that, like, hey, women participate and are affiliated and active in that life too. So growing up, were you ever broached, try to be persuaded to be a part of that life?
I would look at it like this. Like, you're right. There were a lot of female gangsters out here too, and a lot of them weren't necessarily claiming sets. It's because I'm dating a banger. I'm kin to a whole bunch of bangers. My family is banging. Or you just got a group of girls that was cool with each other and kind of ran in packs. Sometimes me and my friends at the schools, they accused us of like running in packs or, you
Right.
know, but it, like you said, it's culture though.
Right.
This is my neighborhood. These are my friends. This is who I'm comfortable with. I know she got my back. She got my back. She got my back. Just because we're not actively gangbanging doesn't make us a target for people that are. So I gotta have a plan too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean?
Right.
And but that culture, like you said, it's a different type of community. Yes, you look at it. Yes, gangbanging is definitely a negative flaw hit on the community. However, that culture of claiming your neighborhood, being proud of where you from,
Right.
you know, not letting somebody from the outside come on the inside and disrespect, you know, loyalty, respect, honor, those things, it just becomes a culture around you.
Right.
And you see consequences for
Right.
crossing somebody within their own group. You know what I
Right.
mean? You seeing people check each other.
Right.
Accountability, you know what I
Right.
mean? So there's things you could learn from that culture that were still positive. I know some people like, in the community, because even, like I said, those of us that were in the neighborhood that weren't banging, but
Right.
we still were close-knit. You still wasn't about to come up in our neighborhood and
Still-
start no mess.
You're still kind of affiliated.
Right.
You're right.
You
still,
are.
That's the word. I'm affiliated, but I'm not
Exactly.
active, so
And when you went somewhere and they know what middle school you went to, what elementary school, you automatically affiliated with the East Side. You
Right.
a East Sider.
Right.
You know, and so yes, those things were and like you were saying, back to from a woman's perspective. On top of that, yes, there were females and that participated in that, but the biggest thing for somebody like me that was not affiliated but grew up around it and I was cute, walking to school, carloads full of gangbangers, slow riding next to you, hey baby, trying to holler at you.
Right.
And you trying to keep it straight and keep it pushing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it can go wrong in so many ways,
Right.
even if I do give my number, blah, blah, blah. So now, remember, these are people that are territorial.
Right.
So if I'm his girl now, I'm his girl.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Then if you say no, you might get talked bad too. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
you might become all kind of bitches.
Right.
And don't dare defend yourself, because now you're going back and forth with somebody that don't care that you're a female, that might smack the taste out your mouth.
Right.
You know what I mean? That might go to violence.
Right.
So from that perspective of being a young lady growing up in that era and not having family members that were gangbangers, like I said, people in the neighborhood, but they were my age.
Right.
So, you know, I didn't have like OGs looking out for me, you know.
Right.
I had to get it how I had to get it.
Right. So how did so you had this amazing, adolescent journey in that environment. How did that help you navigate once you left that environment and moved around?
I always felt like I was ready for the world young. Like, like I said, I walked to school, I rode city buses, I did do some of my high school years there. So I did literally have to navigate the world from the mind of an adolescent at an early age during the time, like I said, we in the crack era, the gang era, serial killers, kidnapping, all these things going on. But still managed to have fun. Like, man, my childhood years was I got into a lot of shit I shouldn't have. I'm glad I survived.
Hey, we all have.
But I have to say,
childhood.
right, but I have to say the environment I was in, being the way it was, and just having to adapt to that helped me learn how to balance that out.
Right. What role did your your immediate family play into keeping you away and but also enabling you to have fun and still, even in a maybe not the safest environment, but still, have a great childhood?
Yeah, so both my parents were in the military.
Okay.
Air Force.
Okay.
My dad was gone a lot, overseas, stationed for years at a time. So my mom, she was very involved. She worked. She was a very early bird, get up early, get to work, get back, but she's cooking dinner. Right. She's coming to your games. The neighborhood kids are coming over to play. We had a 2-story house with a big backyard. Right. So she could keep us in eyes view And, so keep up with us, but also allow us to be free, play, be children. And she was very involved, kept us, the Boys and Girls Club played a huge role for a lot of us, and it was open till like 9 o'clock at night. I don't know what these are little after school programs, the Boys and Girls Club nowadays. I guess ours was like, look, we got to get these kids somewhere safe. They can have a good time, but be safe and off these streets. So our Boys and Girls Club was open. You go there after school, you stay till 9 o'clock at night. On the weekends, it was like, 8 to 4 type stuff. Right. So you had that. We had community centers. When things got really bad, there was a program called Young Life where literally they would contact our parents. Right. Before we even got out of school on Friday, our parents would hook up with them, send sleeping bags, clothes, and when we got out of school, they would let you know we're taking you out to the mountains. Right. But, back to that gangbanging stuff, because something done went down. It's probably going to be some retaliation. Let's get as many of these youth out of here and out the way as possible. And then they take us to a whole nother world that we was not privy to, the mountains, and we'd have a ball.
That's wild. Just being from Nashville and being from the South, where we don't our city, our communities don't have to prepare, be prepared for that type of retaliation, and just knowing hey, such and such just got shot, or this is happening. Yes. It's going to be a war. Yes. We have protocols in place to protect the youth so they won't get caught up in it. That's crazy. For somebody and from my perspective, from my lived journey here, that's protocols out west. So this is a safe space.
Exactly.
That's wow.
And very necessary.
You know it's going to happen. So and necessary.
Our school. I went. Middle school was shot up while I was there. Me going through metal detectors, like the high school I went to for bats, that was regular life. So when I moved to the South, to see things change, and I would ask, y'all don't have to go through metal detectors. Everybody where are you coming from? No. And that was regular life for me. That wasn't, that it was strange to be a part of a system that didn't have that.
Right. So all of that you've seen could definitely be traumatic, and lingering trauma, right? But it seems like from the surface view, we're gonna get into this, so we're gonna get to know you. You are now heavily involved in firearms, especially for women, being able to learn about and learn how to use firearms. And the president,
that's right, Madam President.
Madam President, she got a T-shirt on, y'all, of a gun club, and we're gonna get into that too. What contribution do you give growing up in that type of environment and seeing those things, and then kind of, in a way, bravely embracing it in order to serve, build power, be an advocate in community around things that could have easily be hey, I seen what this can do to communities from a negative perspective. I don't even want to touch a gun. Right. How did that? Let's talk about that bridge.
Let's talk about it, because that's typically what it seems like our culture has gone towards, is that fear. Right. So now I don't want anything to do with guns because these things happen, because of gang violence, because Ray shot up, the liquor store or whatever, some type of traumatic experience with guns has made our community shy away from it. Messed up laws, getting us jammed up as well, or not understanding the laws and how to navigate through them have gotten a lot of us jammed up. That makes, again, people say, I just rather not have it. When I lived in Memphis, I did not have a firearm. I was a single mom. Living in Memphis and should have. Right. Now, knowing what I know, I'm I can't believe I was out here naked all these years, But yes, growing up like that taught you too how to respect it. You know what I mean? And that's what a firearm is, a tool. Right. And you got to learn how to respect that tool. Just like a knife, is sharp and it'll cut you. A firearm, if wrong thing happens, it could shoot you, kill you. So you have to have that respect in place. Being a child of military parents, understanding war, understanding that sometimes violence does get the job done.
Right.
You know what I mean? We can't shy away from it, and especially when it's brought to us. What is your plan against this? It's here.
Right.
You know, are we going to fight or are we going to flight?
Right.
And I tell my class, either one is cool, just commit.
Right.
Don't
be in the middle.
mean? Right. If you going to run, trust. Like the Bill says.
No, I'm a runner.
Just go.
Let everybody around you know, too, hey, if this break out, I'm taking off. Don't depend on me.
Hey, at this age and understanding the laws and the rules that come with self-defense, especially using a firearm, if running is an option, I'm running because I don't have time for court.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't have time for nightmares.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because there's a lot that comes with defending yourself,
right.
and we don't think about those things. So being a mother and living in Memphis and being a single mom at that, or let me say a mom that was single, you know, then you start looking at how am I going to protect myself and my family a little different. As a woman, especially, I grew up with a father in my home. You know, I grew up with older brothers. So I grew up in a neighborhood full of boys that was gangbanging, so they were still protectors. Right. You know what I mean? So I always grew up around boys or men that was with it. You know what I mean? So I never had to second guess that if I was being attacked or if I was wrong, that somebody around me was going to handle that.
Right.
But I also knew, because I walked by myself, because me and my brother had a gap in our ages, so we weren't always at the same school at the same time.
Right.
You know, and I'm walking with my friends, I have to be ready. You know what I mean? That man may not always be there. That person that we deem to be a protector may not always be there, which even I'm talking about our children. You may not always be there to protect your children. So with the rise in single parenthood, and especially it being more the children are with the women, with the mothers, whether it's the aunties, the grandmas, they tend to be more around the women, and women tend to be more of the teachers and the nurturers, then we got some time we got to make up for. If I can train some women on how to be safe with a firearm, how to just the fundamentals with it, how to properly use it, understand somewhat the laws, how to, you know, be confident with carrying, then they can pass that knowledge down to their children. They can teach, you know, their sisters, their friends, or whatever, because naturally as a woman, that's what we do.
Right.
You know what I mean? They say, well, you show a woman, you teach a nation.
Right.
So I'm just trying to teach the nation.
Hey, let's get into it, because I'm sure that you're facing different challenges and barriers being a woman, a black woman, instructor with firearms than I would being a man, being a black man, if I was teaching it, right?
Right.
How have you navigated that? Because I'm sure, I know you primarily focus on women, but I'm pretty sure you can train men too. You can train any human being. You can train any gender.
Right.
Right. You know,
anybody.
Any gender. But so how have you navigated that? Being in that space where male dominated, white male dominated, and being able to, you know, have a successful business, being credible, making sure people are not, you know, trying to just discredit you based off of just your gender, just starting off there, right? How have you navigated that?
Man, you have to know your lane, first of all, right? So, yes, the industry overall, it may be male-dominated, but the growth right now is coming from the women. Right. You know, and the black woman is right up there. So that's who's purchasing firearms right now. That's who's interested. That's who is open and willing for instruction. Where sometimes my male counterparts, you know, they know women are their market too. I'm a threat. I'm a whole threat in the industry as a female firearms instructor, because there's not a whole lot. So we haven't saturated the market, but the women have. Right. So most women are gonna say, I can get this male instructor, or I can go to this female instructor. Right. Let me go over here with this woman. You know what I mean? And a lot of times, because some man, hard eye roll, probably messed the experience up off top, thinking he doing right, Boo went out, bought her a gun because he thinks she need to protect herself, and he just went and didn't take anything into regards. Didn't even know what to take in regards. It might be too big for her hands. It might be too powerful.
Right.
Just all those little things that matter.
Right.
And so now he's taking her to the range with this big ass gun that she can't handle,
Right.
and he's not doing a good job explaining, and she's not understanding, and she's feeling some type of way, and now he's feeling some type of way, and it's just a horrible experience.
Right.
So she don't want to touch the gun, because what happens when you shoot a gun that you can't handle? You tend to not want to shoot guns, because especially if that's your first experience. I'm going to just assume all guns shoot like this one.
Right.
I don't know there's variety. Like when you
Right.
come with me, like I had a lady the other day, I had a toy gun, a 22, and a 9mm.
Right.
And we started with the toy gun.
Right.
Because guess what? It's not intimidating.
Right.
She know it ain't finna shoot hard, it ain't finna do nothing. It's a toy.
What do you see as some of the I guess I would say mental kind of barriers and inspiration that would barriers in general that stop women from wanting to like go ahead and jump into that like lane of like shooting a gun, because I think it's still a conditioning that women have to unlearn. Of like, hey, you all can shoot just as well. It can be just as deadly, and can just carry in general, right?
Right.
So what are some of those, like, I guess, mental barriers and learned behaviors that you see that is preventing women from going ahead and making that leap?
First, you have to get over yourself.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And as surreal self-defense, our tag is self-defense is self-love in action. So we focus on self-image, self-respect, self-love. We'll do all these self-checks, self-respect, and then we leave off self-defense, right? Self-preservation. You know what I mean? The important things that keep us here. So again, like I said about getting comfortable with having that male in your life, that's going to protect you. You know what I mean? So really protecting and defending yourself never even really crossed your mind is a barrier. It hasn't happened to me, so it probably won't happen to me, that whole ideal.
Right.
And then you have the people that had the traumatic experience, whether it was their own personal experience or someone else. A lot of victims of violence. Firearm use in violence, domestic violence cases, firearms is like up there, and that's what people are being threatened with. So there's all kind of challenges, and just straight up scared. This thing goes bang and it kills people, and I really don't want no parts of it. Or I get caught with this, I go to jail. People just assume that. Like, I don't know if I'm supposed to have it. Can I have one in the chamber? So many questions. So that lack of knowledge, right? But I tell people it's still a mindset thing. So if you're not ready, that's cool. Just because your boo bought you a gun doesn't mean that you got to touch it yet, that you got to do anything. But what I get on my men about, when I get that call for somebody, they setting up an appointment with me, and I start asking them questions about what kind of gun they have, if they have one, and they're like, I don't know. I'm like, well, do you got ammo? They like, I don't know. And I'm like, okay, well, who bought the gun? Like, those are red flags that you didn't buy this weapon.
Right.
And they'll say, my boyfriend or my dad or so-and-so. And I say, well, are they there? They say, yeah, put them on the phone. As soon as he get on the phone, I said, why would you buy her something so deadly and then not show her how to use it immediately?
Right.
Not show her nothing about it. Like, I'm getting guns, chicks showing up with guns straight out the box that somebody else bought for them.
Right.
Sometimes they showing up, they're loaded, ready to go. They don't have a clue.
Wow.
Because first thing I do, you don't get to walk through the door with your gun. You get to hand it to me. And then I'm going to do the proper clearance. And there's been so many loaded guns that have showed up. That one chick, they was going through a divorce, though. I was like, probably good. Sent her out the door with a loaded gun in the box. Like, she had no clue. She don't know what to do with it to begin with. And then on top of that, you got her riding around with a loaded weapon. She don't know if it's loaded or not. So I asked them straight up, why did you do that? And they'll be like, man, I can't teach her nothing. Or, man, I was going to try to get to it. And I'll tell them, you just set her up to get possibly robbed or raped with a gun that you bought. Because I know when my house got broken into and when my neighbor's house got broken into and people's cars got broken into, anybody who had guns in their house, usually that was one of the things that was stolen.
Right.
So they look for that, or they come across that. And when they do, if I just think of it, it might have just been somebody pulling old B&E. She go to work. Now they come across a gun. Now I'm going to sit on the bed and wait for her. See, I used to watch a lot of Montel Williams growing up. And that was the story of them rape victims that got raped in their house. Talking about I got out the shower and it was somebody sitting on my bed. I used to watch stuff like that. I take showers different. If I'm home alone, that shower door is open. Ain't no bathroom door closed. I got to hear everything. Right. Yes, the strap is on the little thing right by the shower. It's there. Right. You know what I mean? Like, I do think different now because, again, it's that whole, you were saying, challenges and barriers, that it won't happen to me mentality is going to get you messed up every single time. You got to treat your self-protection like insurance. I rather have it and don't need it than don't have it when I need it. You know what I mean? Like, because, I wouldn't. You just start thinking about playing all these scenarios of stuff that could happen and to be caught without. It's going to be a long fight.
You dealing with specifically with women in a society where, I'm going to break this down into two societies, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, one society, right, where men in general are seen as protectors. Mm-hmm. Right. If we go and we speaking specifically about our black community, a lot of men have been taken away from families, from households, which has in a way forced black women, that had to step up and be protectors and kind of take on some masculine characteristics as women, right? How do you think incarceration, drug laws, structural racism, white supremacy, all of those things, all these social constructs that we are, disproportionately affected by than our, other racial counterparts in the United States specifically, how has that played a part in the tick in women gun ownership in black women?
Yes, man. Incarceration, huge part of it. It's a huge part of, yes, black women having to accept that role as, head protector in the home, but also it's a reason why black women don't have a firearm in the home, because my man is on them papers and I don't know how I can operate with this in my home with him in my home. So where my other 2A'ers, non-black 2A'ers, don't have to teach that, probably. Right. We talk about that a lot in class. How do you move with somebody that is move? Right?
How do you move?
Depending on how, and then we always have to remember, just because it's written down and on paper and they say, yes, you can have the gun, it just needs to be locked up in a way, you still have to be practical and you still have to remember you black. Right. You still have to remember they want this black man back where he came from, incarcerated. So if I can jam y'all up, even though you think you're following these rules because you're properly storing it or it's where it can't be around him, you know how the system go. Right. It could still jam you up. Right. You know what I mean? So that is a challenge because some people would rather just not be in that predicament. Right. Even dating, let's talk about it too, because everybody knows what I do, right? Right. Because that's one downside, at least for me, is people assume it's on me. Everywhere I go, people assume I got guns on me, which could be a good thing and it can be a bad thing. Well, makes you a target.
We're in Tennessee, we're in the
facts. But in the black community, even in the South, we still treat it like it's not normal. Right. For guns to be a part of your life, right? Right. So it's almost like you are some superhero if you're comfortable concealing and carrying, whatever out here, right? Because people still move, and I'm talking about like our parents, people that do, stand up citizens, no questions about them, still hesitant about moving with firearms in today's society. In a society in the South where 2A is, let's go. But back to that, so dating, it makes that difficult. Dudes, I date the brothers with the F on their report card too. I don't discriminate.
Right.
But we got to have that conversation. And I didn't even realize I had to have that conversation till somebody that was taking me out, he knew his own situation. He was like, so are you going to have all them guns on you? Because this is my situation. Or it just got to the point when we hooked up, he would ask me like, well, how many you got on you? Where are they on you? So like he's driving, if we get pulled over, all of them got to be on me, on my person.
Right.
I can't have it in his glove compartment. I can't have it where it looks like he could have access to it.
Okay.
So incarceration plays, like I said, that mental, is it even worth me moving like this because I mess around and get hemmed up over just trying to exercise my Second Amendment rights.
Right.
But we do get that question a lot. And I just kind of bring it to the forefront. And I don't talk about it because I ain't nobody's attorney. I don't talk about it like I know, or if you do it like A, B, and C, you're going to be okay. I talk about it like this is shit you need to think about.
Right.
You got this gun in your house and you got this man in your house who got an F on his report card. What is the stipulations of his F on his report card?
Right.
You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, that's crazy because I never thought about it from a relationship standpoint, right? Because, I just never thought about it. But for as a person that can't choose who you grew up around, you can't choose who your friends end up being, and those friends for me, a lot of them, majority of them end up having felonies for things they did when they was younger. When we was younger, some people got caught, some people didn't. But then you gotta be careful because of their situation, because they're on papers, and how you navigate around them with your firearm and understanding.
Yes.
Because anything can happen, and this you got to be realistic in one, being transparent. Like, hey, look, I got that thing on me.
Right.
And I
exactly.
know that you just got out. So, so how does this work?
Right.
How does this work? And if we do get in the situation, what do I need to do to make sure that you don't get caught up from us just not being knowledgeable?
You're right
about the situation. So I think that's an important thing to consider and think about research. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, it's a lot of things to consider when you have a firearm, and I think where people just, when we say training is important, they're thinking pick it up, shoot some drills. That's important too. Right. But when I say training is important, I'm like, no, you need to know what responsibility comes with that.
Right.
That just made you a superhero.
Right.
So what responsibility comes with being that superhero? Right. Like that arm, they looking at you like an armed villain. You looking at yourself like a superhero. Right. There's two different perspectives when we walk out the door. So again, we talk, I try to get in your head, even with kids. One of the biggest ones I love asking people, you had Denzel on here. We know he's a martial artist. Denzel got swords and spears and all kind of wild stuff. So when we teach our home defense class, in person defense, he'll bring some of that extra wild stuff that the average person is not going to have.
Right.
And I have him stand next to me holding, one time he was holding 2 swords, just standing there. And I'm talking to the class and I'm asking these men, and they're there with their women, and I'm like, well, what kind of firearms do you have at the house? So you got a pistol? They're like, yeah. I'm like, where you keep it in your room? They're like, oh, it's in a lockbox. I'm like, is it loaded? They're like, nah, it's not one in the chamber. I'm like, all right, well, you got a rifle? They're like, yeah. Where's it at? In the closet. I'm like, is it loaded? They're like, nah. Okay. You got a shotgun? Yeah. Where's it at? Oh, it's in the closet in the other room. Is you ready to go? No. Man, you ain't got no guns in your house. That's how I'm looking at it, because I'm like, now how are you even getting to the rifle and the shotgun? The pistol is in a lockbox. It's not ready. And I always start with saying, this nigga just kicked your door in.
Right. Exactly.
With some swords. I'm shooting him.
Right.
But I'm just, I want to take you to some wild scenario, but to show you how ready you're not. People think I'm crazy because I keep one under the pillow. If you made it to my bedroom door or just in my house, I ain't got time to be pressing no buttons on no box. I ain't hating on those that do.
Right.
And everybody's answer, well, why they had their stuff staged, not ready to go, was because it was kids in the house. And I said, but you still have set yourself up not to be able to protect them same kids that you think you protecting by keeping yourself. So I'm not saying how to store yourself. I'm not saying nothing's wrong with keeping it safe. I'm not saying, but we have to educate our children. We have to educate the people that are in the home. I had to tell my kids, even when I was practicing martial arts, you know, when I started carrying on me holster, ain't no more jumping out the closet scaring each other for fun.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, real talk. We had to have a real conversation. There's no more doing that.
Right.
You know, and I didn't even think about that. My dude I was training with boxing at the time, he was like, yo, you getting quick, so don't be play fighting with your kids. Right. You're going to knock one of them out. Don't be doing, you know, how you just do that with people. Like, don't do that.
Right.
Because I don't think you realize, you know, where your skill set is going, because you don't look at yourself as a killer.
Right.
Or maybe you do. But you know what I mean? Like, and so it's just so much that goes to it. But I tell everybody, especially my sisters, because, you know, our minds, Lord help us. But, you know, mental health is a concern in all our communities, you know, not just Black communities, but it's something we're getting more comfortable with talking about and being real with what's going on. So even when I was going with depression, anxiety, things like that, when I say I can't believe I didn't have a gun while I was in Memphis, I'm so glad I didn't have a gun while I was in Memphis, because looking back where I was mentally, I wasn't ready.
You bring up this word superhero a lot.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking at you I'm looking at your position, your role, your title. Tanea, black woman, black woman with a firearm. Not only that, has her own firearm business. Not only that, the president of the Middle Tennessee Black Gun Club. Now, again, male-dominated sports sector, all together, business, all together, and you found yourself in this position to lead, to educate, to show, to do all these representation, right? And I think it's all empowering, and you are a superhero for women, because you just don't see that. You just don't see that. So how do all of these things play into you inspiring and being, like, you know, a superhero beacon for hope, for change, for women out there that may be skeptical of carrying a firearm, wanting to learn how to shoot in the society that we live in?
Well, yes, I am a superhero.
For sure.
I walk around with my S on my chest. But what we do is real self-defense. My goal is to teach you how to be your own superhero. That's our motto. And that comes from, like I said, a lot of people know what I do. So when I show up places, I get guys and girls that be like, oh, I feel safe now because the gun lady is here. And I always say, I only got bullets for me and my kids. Like, I don't know what y'all talking about. AKA, you need to be your own superhero.
Right.
Back to what you asked me about women, I can't wait for a man to save me. I can't wait for my neighbor to call the police. I can't wait. We don't have that type of time in a lot of these situations to be looking around about who's going to save me. You signed up to save yourself the day you kept on breathing every time you wake up in the morning. Like, you know what I mean? That is your responsibility. And when we add children to the mix, you know, now you just signed up to be the superhero and protector for many versions of you. Because it's all about survival, right? It's about my DNA living on this planet to continue on, you know, and in order to do that, you got to be able to protect yourself. You got to be able to, I always say one of our mottos is build something worth protecting. You know what I mean? Yeah. People that don't care about life, that don't care about themselves, and it starts there. If you don't even care about your safety and being able to defend yourself, you got other issues you got to work through for it. Then you don't respect yourself. You don't love yourself. You know, there's other things that I could check off in self that you haven't accomplished or conquered yet about self to get to the point where you like, nah, I got to make it. Yeah. You know what I mean? You know, because at the end of the day, if I ask you, you know, all right, somebody come up, it's going to be you or them. Who's it going to be?
It's going to be them. Yeah, it ain't going to be me.
If somebody got to get put down, I'm not trying to sign up for that.
Right, exactly.
You know, and I want to be able to fight fair, as they say. So if he got a gun, I want to have a gun too. You know, like, okay, give me a second.
Right, exactly.
Ready? Let's go. You know, and it's not always about the gun. My brother Denzel with Dynastic Guard earn your way to the gun. So when we train, we ain't straight up. Like, I want to know where your mind is.
Right.
But we can go ahead and get it and start working with it. Nah, you don't have to carry. I didn't start carrying a gun on me as soon as I bought a gun. I didn't even buy my first gun, a boo at the time. Whew, almost told on myself. He purchased it for me because of a situation. I had my neighbor was tripping. So we talking about that's too close for comfort. That's every day.
Right.
Night, day, morning, don't matter. That's your neighbor. This is where you live.
Right.
And we got a whole problem. And a man, it was several guys, I'm gonna call them guys, that I went to that I'm cool with, and I was talking about the situation, he ain't gonna do nothing. We gotta stop that. When people come in and say, especially when the ladies and you are coming to you, especially as men, they're coming for a reason. Why? Because you're that symbol of protection. They coming to you and saying, hey, this is what's going on. Hey, I got this problem. And so many said, he ain't going to do nothing. They don't even know this dude. Right. He's already done too much the way I'm seeing. If I'm coming to you, obviously too much has already happened. Right. All right, so I'm getting turned down. So again, I got to figure this out. But one person, he was like, you know what? Meet me at this address on this day. It was an outdoor gun range, and he brought like a whole bunch of guns, handguns, rifles, ARs, shotguns, and let me shoot different things just to kind of see, you know, get a feel for it. He was real calm, real cool about it. It was just like a day on the range, you know, and then after that, we would go like once a week. And then he purchased me a firearm, and then we just started training on that firearm. And then from there, I started seeking training from others. And then I went and got my permit. I was already dealing with guns a year or two before I went and got a permit. Right. After I got my permit, it was still about 6-7 months before I even started carrying, because I went through a training, JC Shigog sure did, to how to pull out the holster. Like, we don't even think about stuff like that. It's funny because people will show up to train, they got all the gear. They got bulletproof vests, they got holsters, extra mags, you know, dope guns, way more expensive than the gun I got. I'm like, man, I'll kill you and take your stuff. Like, I'll rob you right now. You know what I mean? Because you ask them simple things, you watching how they gripping the gun, and you like, they don't have no clue to the basics. So TV, movies, this is really where people are getting their training from.
Right. So, I don't know if you know this, but you may know this. 50% of all crime here in Nashville is domestic violence. Around 70% of that, the victims are women. So, super majority of women, like, you know. A lot of that is due to, one, they have just being affected most, and two, a lot of men just don't report. Right. So it might be a little bigger tick on men, but I'm pretty sure women are still going to be the victims in the majority of those cases. If I'm a man and a female friend of mine comes to me and say, hey, Jerome, I'm experiencing domestic violence, or I'm just experiencing some type of a threatening situation from a man, and I don't feel safe, I don't feel like I can protect myself, I don't know what he might do. It might, you know, it just might be somebody I see all the time, or see, you know, on and off, but I don't feel safe. As men, what are some best practices other than saying, oh, don't worry about it, oh, he ain't gonna do nothing, right? What are some best practices that we can take and be allies in helping women? If we can't physically be there all the time, what are some ways that we can be allies in helping women to protect themselves when we're not there to be able to help be protectors of their life?
Encourage them to take self-defense classes, martial arts, especially if they have children. That's a great thing to do together as a family. Okay. But man, keep up with that person. Dig deeper. You know what I mean? Right. Surface level. So why are you around this person?
Right.
You know, what makes you feel like you still got to stay there? You don't, you know, you don't have to take that abuse, right?
Right.
All right. You know what I mean? Like, I would say dig deeper, get more questions and see what is really the root cause, what is keeping her afraid or feel like this person may have a position of power. Maybe they pay their bills, you know, that's keeping them there in this situation. Because anybody that, for somebody like me, that sound crazy. Like,
Right.
dude going upside your head, and you just like keep coming home every night.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
it happens. It's
and it
happening right
happens
now.
so much.
Yeah.
That's why I said it's deeper than just somebody like me that I know I can make it, so I'm pick up and go. Or I know I got a support system,
Right.
so if it mean I can't live here, I know I can go to my mama house, my
Right.
brother house, my best friend house, and everybody don't have them options.
Right.
So I would find out, you know, more of what is keeping you there, because I had that conversation with one of the martial artists I work with. Shout out to Jeff Dunner, Dunner's Academy in Murfreesboro. And, you know, because a lot of us don't have time to just take a consistent class. That's just the reality of it. And so I was asking him, like, well, can you show me, like, some practical moves? Like, he's like, what you mean practical? You know, I'm like, well, what if somebody trying to choke me? He's like, what you mean choke you? I said, okay, so what if a chick came to me and said, you know, sometimes my boyfriend drank a little too much and he gets a little, you know, hands on. He choked me. He not trying to kill me or nothing, but it gets uncomfortable. I'm not afraid, but I just want to know how to get him up off of me without me hurting him.
Right.
And he was like, that sounds crazy. I said, right, but it's a real situation. They know they not leaving.
Right.
They don't, in her mind, she's not afraid.
Right.
She just associates it with when he drinks, he gets a little too much. And I want to be able to protect myself, but I don't want to hurt him.
Right.
You know, but even just asking that, when I said, okay, well, he was like, well, what does he do? I said, well, let's just say he chokes me. Is he choking you while you standing up, or is he choking you while you laying down? And when he asked me that, it's because those are different moves.
Right.
That's a different situation.
Right.
I can show you different things. So getting somebody involved that can dig deeper and say, okay, well, we know this person not leaving this situation. Man, let me show you this real quick.
And you pointed something out too. I think to us as men, we can get the assumption that we have all the answers, and right. And a lot of times the answer can be like, take this gun, or take this knife, or take this tase, or whatever. But every situation is different, and I think what's empowering for you being here is that you have the mindset, the lens of being an actual woman, so you know how these scenarios can happen or what can happen, because like you're that, right? Mm-hmm. And you can probably communicate and articulate better to other women than a man could have, because you'll understand the situation, which I think is pertinent and necessary too. Because I'm not going to think of everything as if a woman would think about it, because I'm not a woman, right?
Right.
And so being as a man, I think one of the good things, having people like yourself, women like yourself, accessible and available, is I can go directly to a source.
Right.
Hey, Tanea, I have a female friend. She's going through this. Now, I know my direct response, but I'm not a woman.
Right.
So you can dig in deeper and be able to show her how to handle herself and give her some practical lessons, and or start training with you and taking those baby steps.
Yes.
And it's empowering to see you, because like, oh, she's a woman too. I can do it if she can do it, type of thing.
Right. And also, the questions I'm going to ask are going to be different than the questions you're going to ask, where you digging deeper might just be something like, well, why are you letting them go upside your head? And of course, she kind of looking like, I ain't letting them. It's not like I want it, where I'm going to say, well, are your children there when this is happening? Well, yeah, sometimes. Well, how you think that make them feel? You know what I mean? Because you start playing on a woman's babies.
Right.
And she's a different monster. She's that's different.
Right.
I can take this abuse.
Right.
And I'm okay. But I ain't know it was affecting my kids.
Right.
And I'm not okay with that.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So, one thing we always ask our students before we start is their why. Why are you here? Right. Why do you want to learn how to shoot a firearm? And a lot of times, I want to protect myself. I want to protect my family. I say, okay, well then I'm going to ask you these 3 questions based on your why. Are you willing to go to jail for your why? They like, yeah, are you willing to kill for your why? And are you willing to die for your why? And that's, people sit there and think,
Yeah.
you know, because that's what you saying. When you take this with you, you saying the reason why I got this is because I go to jail about my kids, about me. I die about me and my kids, and I kill about me and my kids. Yes.
Right. And we don't. A lot of people don't think about that, like the dying aspect. Like
No, everybody think they gonna win the gunfight.
You can lose a gunfight.
Man, a lot have.
And you can be in the right and lose.
Man, seen
Wow.
too many go down with it.
Wow.
The one thing too, I remember I was at a church in Memphis, and the armor bearer, whatever, he was standing up there. It was a big church, and he was open carrying, standing there the whole time. And afterwards, I asked him, I was like, "Dang, we at church." You know, I'm new to Memphis at this point. Right. I was like, "Why you feel like you need a gun at church?" And he said, "The good guys gotta have guns too." Yeah. And that always stuck with me.
Yeah.
Like,
you know the bad ones gonna have them, so
yeah.
Whether they legally or illegal, they gonna have them.
And I'm glad you said that, because let's talk about this permitless carry law real quick. As black folks, because I'm sick, because I deal more with that community. Even the white folks are doing it. Man, we have got to stop blaming that law for everything that happened when Dolph got killed. Everybody's like, "Oh, that permitless carry, people can just ride around how they want to." Like, everything that happens with a gun and gun violence is not a direct reflection of whatever legislation is going on at that time. Because of, to your point, criminals, if I want to commit a crime, I'm not caring what the law is or is not saying. I'm not feeling empowered now that, oh, I could ride around with a gun now, so let me go kill him now, where I had to have a permit. That's not how killers think. You know, so yes, I want us to stay on top of the laws, but we have to understand them, and we have to be able to articulate them. We have to be able to, when the cameras are in our face and the news is asking us about something happened and you want to bring up a law, please know what you're talking about. Right. Because I'm just hearing all kind of different ideals and things, and it's not what the law is, you know. Right. I have people ask me all the time, "Are you for it or are you against?" I tell them I ain't for or against no laws. Right. Because it's going to happen regardless. Back in 96 was when the permit came into play in Tennessee. Right. So we was dealing without a permit before then, and it's going to change back. Right. Eventually. So that's
relatively a new thing.
Exactly. So it's just like, okay, so quit worrying about all the criminals you think now are going to be riding around with guns, and just worry about you. Are you a responsible firearms owner? Are the people you around? Even if you don't want to have a gun in your house, in your presence, I still would advise learn gun safety, learn the fundamentals, because you never know when you're going to be put in a position where you got to handle a gun.
Right, because you might have to disarm somebody.
Or you might just be somewhere and it's there. Right. I show up at the house or somewhere and there's kids and there's just a gun sitting on the table. I don't care if the owner is cool with that or not. I ain't cool with that. I'm dropping the mag, I'm racking the slide, I'm making sure it's clear, figuring out where I could put it safe to keep these babies safe. Whatever I gotta do. Little knowledge like that could have just saved somebody's life because you knew what to do with it.
There's another superpower that you wanted to talk about.
Yes.
The power of no.
The power of no.
What does that mean? Talk to us about that.
I tell people you need to tell somebody no at least 3 times a day. Start with your children. They're the easy ones to practice on. The power of no. Man, saying no would keep us out of so many situations. And a lot of times we don't know either how to say no or when to say no. Right. So we could look at it depending on how you like to look at things, either when to say yes or when to say no. So one of my trainers, shout out to Carlos Down, in Panama City, Florida, he gives it the what if, the I hope, and the no test. So when you're trying to decide whether you should say yes or you should say no, the first one is the what if. What if I say yes? So what if my friends ask me, let's say I'm a teenager, my friends say, yo, I got my parents' car for a couple hours, we got some beer, we about to go riding down to the lake, blah, blah, blah. What if I say yes? If I say yes, I hope we don't get caught with this beer. I hope my parents don't find out. Ooh, I hope. When you got to start hoping that negative stuff don't happen, you should probably say no.
Okay.
So when it's the what if I say yes, and if you got a hope now, if you say, what if I say yes? Ooh, I hope we have a good time. Ooh, I hope the drive ain't that long. Ooh, I hope so-and-so is there. Then you should probably say yes. How does your hope feel? Does it feel like I hope some negative shit don't happen? Or do I hope good stuff happen? And based on that I hope statement, should help you determine whether you say yes or you say no. The power of no. I hear so many women that's what they'll tell me. Man, I just wish I could say no like you do. But I tell people, usually if you ask me, I'm just so quick to say no. Like, that's just my kids got me like that. You know, I really haven't even processed what you said. It's the fact that you asking me something. It's just like, no. My trainer said the same thing. He said, when I don't really know you, I'm going to tell you no for about a year. Like, you know, because I don't know how you move. And it's good for business, personal relationships, because we keep wanting to give people the benefit of the doubt. You know what I mean? And people are manipulative. People are out to use you. People are setting you up. You know what I mean? Ladies and children especially, not to count men out, but, man, we have got to that situational awareness. It's people out here to do bad things. That's their job. And they will play nice for a while to get to the evil.
You know what I started doing like many years ago? Just because of just the lifestyle journey I've been through. And as a person, like, that can legally carry, right? And legally, I do legally carry. If I feel like I have to have my gun in places, like, I tend not to, like, go
frequent those places, right?
Like, I tend to say no to those. If I feel like I need, like, I'm gonna have it wherever I go, but I feel like I have, like, like I can't, like sometimes, like, rare moments, I'll be running to the grocery store and feel like, damn, I forgot my but I ain't really anything can happen in the grocery store, but it's really less likely for me to run into some trouble just because of the person I am. And two, I don't get off that. I ain't looking for no trouble either. But if I feel like I'm going in any environment that I'm gotta have my strap with me, nah, I probably won't be going. I probably won't be, like, taking that drive or visiting that area or being in that club or whatever it may be, that space. And so that's how I started saying no. So, Madam President of the Middle Tennessee Black Gun Club, talk to us about that, your role, the purpose, what y'all want to accomplish here throughout Middle Tennessee, and how people can get involved and get active.
That's what's up. Middle Tennessee Black Gun Club, where I do serve as the Madam President. The ideal behind bringing a black gun club to this area was from getting in the business, being a firearm instructor. And to be honest, I feel like not enough people were training, and maybe the problem was the cost. Or maybe the problem is not having like-minded people around or people that share this interest to work with on this. So another instructor, my brother Denzel Caldwell, we got together with a couple other business-minded people that were also interested in protecting themselves and being a part of the club, got together, and we formed it. So we're a little over a year in, but a majority of it was getting the business side of it together. It's a lot of work. It's dedication, but again, the goal, the mission is safer communities. So maybe we can get more people over here actually train and learning if they don't have to pay $100+ per session. So what they do is they just pay a monthly subscription fee. We have different levels. So as little as $25 a month. The highest is $50 a month. It includes, we have different events. We have training. We talk about things like when the permitless carry bill, that's what we really push a lot of is understanding. So it gave us this community. And it's also putting us back into just the black tradition of firearms, period. A lot of great books out there, Negroes with Guns, Robin Williams' story is a very good place to start. We shoot back. This runs deep in our history. This runs deep in our culture. But at some point, and we know slavery played a huge part, but even after that, civil rights is what got us back on track with arming ourselves, protecting ourselves. There's a lot of black communities that did not play. They would go head up with the KKK.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
They was down for whatever. But, of course, you don't hear those stories. You know, Black
Right.
History Month, that's not going to be taught at your elementary school. You're not going to learn about Ida B. Wells. You're not going to learn about Fannie Lou Hamer, Robin Williams, you know, a lot of these people. So it's our job. You know, that's why I love Denzel, my sergeant at arms. He / historian / bring the facts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And a lot of the trainers that I deal with, black men, they have degrees in African American studies and things like that. So that's where I started learning more about the firearms tradition in the black community. So this is not new.
Right.
This is just us bringing it back. What we want to push is the history, you know, of course, safety, responsible firearm owners. Also, again, talked about the pricing and the value. We have people like J.C. Shegog, an amazing trainer, master instructor, and you can get them for $40 through the club. You know what I mean? When he's doing an event where that same class we have, like for the men, the standard, typically if he would throw that through his business, he's taxing you $225, $250 easy.
Right.
And we're saying here's the same training for $40.
Yeah.
So we wanted to put the opportunity out there, especially for our underserved communities. And again, it's deeper than a gun. I'm certified in Stop the Bleed training. We brought a trainer down for that. We're bringing somebody down for like the survivor prepping, you know. So we'll have things like that. It's all about how do we preserve our community? How do we protect our community? How do we be comfortable doing it? But it costs money to protect yourself. It does. So we're hoping through the club, like I said, through membership fees, through events, in the future sponsors, you know, sponsorships. We have community partners, people that can help with resources so we can get our people trained.
How can people, if they're watching this and looking at this, especially women, right?
Mm-hmm.
How can they get tapped in with you in the Middle Tennessee Black Gun Club?
We are on Facebook, Instagram. We have a wonderful website, mid10bgc.com, which it'll navigate you through wherever you need to go. You can get some dope gear there too.
Okay. Get the merch.
Right, get the merch. But yeah, they can sign up for membership there. A lot of questions get answered there. Articles that we've been featured in, news. It's all in there. Information about the permitless carry. And you can just, even if you're not want to be a member right now, you can just subscribe to the website and get newsletters. When we have events, they're open to the community. Members get a better deal on the event, but we still try to keep it open to everyone.
Well, look, hey, Madam President.
That's right.
I appreciate your time. I appreciate you sharing and dropping these gems. I appreciate you encouraging our women to get trained, get practice, learn about firearms, learn how to be their own superhero. I really like that.
Yeah.
And I like the knowledge that you dropped about how men can be allies. And
I like that term, allies. We need that.
Yeah.
I let the women, I get a lot of my bros in the business to come be range safety officers or assistant instructors, and I tell the women, I know some of you have had bad experiences with men, and you don't want to deal with them, but I want to introduce you to some good guys.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. And start trying to change that narrative too.
But also, you know, we need diversity is good, and we need more women being trainers and instructors. Yes. And so I know you offer that too.
I do.
And so I encourage all women out there, especially in underserved, marginalized, minority, people of color, black communities, to reach out to you for that, especially, you know, specifically women to reach out to you. Yes. And learn, you know, and be inspired and like get out there and do it.
Oh, you know?
You never know. Not only save your life, you might save a life or two.
Yeah. You know? For real. And I got some stuff for y'all. We got a simulator. I got the simulator training going on now this year. Right. Got some stuff I can't say out loud just yet because a lot of people be trying to take my ideas and beat me to it, even though it don't matter to me because it's not going to look like how I'm going to do it. But yeah, we got some really good stuff coming up in this area, especially for the ladies. I gotta get back to the ladies.
Yeah, so. This one is for the women, right?
That's
this
right.
This one is for the women. And look, I gotta say this so people to know. happy early birthday.
That's right. Shout
You know
out to the Aquarius in the
happy
in the
early
buildings.
birthday. You know, I hooked her up with some ammo for her birthday. She told me. She said, you better bring me some. She didn't even give me a chance.
Right.
And so I look. but
girls
no,
with guns.
Hey, girls with guns. We need y'all, girls with guns. You know, but no, I appreciate you. Appreciate everything that you stand for, that you're doing. To empower women in our community, empower community in general, and keeping community safe.
Yes.
And encouraging more folks to get involved with firearms in different ways.
Right.
In different ways, in our diverse ways, not just owning one and having one, but in other ways. So thank you.
Man, thank you.
We're
I
gonna bring you
appreciate
back.
you.
We're gonna because we know things are gonna happen.
Right.
So we're gonna bring you back when current events and things, and they just to keep inspiring women that, hey, you know, this is something y'all can get involved in too.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Appreciate it.
All right. Holla.